What's up everybody, Alex here, and the big day for the big update has arrived for Dota Underlords, and I'm here to break it down with you in a patch analysis and general reaction video. Now, one thing I will say is I have not read these patch notes yet. Well, I mean, some of it we knew were coming because of the teasing, but the full patch notes in terms of individual changes to units, I've not read yet. So these are first impressions here. Let's dive right in. So first, we knew that we were getting new Underlords, so our new Underlords have arrived. We have, is it an Essex and Hobgin have joined. One thing I'm reading here that's quite interesting is that there are 22 talents each, 11 of which are locked, so we have to kind of unlock them, I guess with some sort of XP system. That'll be interesting. It also puts a situation where we have some haves and have-nots. Some players will have them unlocked, others will not. How that affects gameplay is interesting. Will a player that's been playing for, a long time have an advantage over a relatively new player? Well, it sounds like they're going to have some added flexibility, so we'll have to check that out for sure. It's good to see that bot games count, though, because I know a lot of people like to play bot games. Duos is out. Alright, so Duos is a lot of fun. I can't wait to try that out. The way it works sounds great. The idea that you can share heroes and gold, but you have, a shared health pool is a great idea. That's very, very unique and interesting. I'm really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to that. We'll have some games with Duos, hopefully, for sure. Freestyle Mode, if you were following my tweets and my community posts on YouTube, you'll know that I am super excited about the Freestyle Mode. I mean, this is right up my alley. My favorite thing about this game is coming up with new strategies, new ideas, testing synergies, all those types of things. This mode was made for me. I can't wait to do stuff in this mode. You guys will be getting videos with me testing out the Freestyle Mode. With that being said, if there are things you want me to test in Freestyle Mode, please let me know in the comments, honestly, because I want your ideas. I want to be making stuff in this Freestyle Mode. If you guys want me to test things, I'm going to test them, and I'm going to keep going until everything in the entire Dota Underlords catalog has been tested, which is impossible because with these devs, they're constantly changing things, so there's always something to learn. So now we have the insects. We know about that, so they added an entire new faction called the insects. The interesting thing about this, the insects really change a lot, and the reason why is because even in my strategy guides, a lot of my videos depend on kind of the corner being kind of a protected zone for vulnerable units, right? Mage comps do that, where you kind of block off in the corners. Knights does that simply because it works out with the way they have to be kind of situated together. The insects counters that by having enemies come from the sides of the board to attack those in the rear. Great idea. It adds a lot of dynamic play to the field and makes positioning that much more important. For instance, in the situation we had where like mage and druid comps were like running rampant the last few weeks, if we had insects, we could really do tons of damage to them because, well, the mages would be getting kind of squished from the outside by the spiderlings that get spawned. So pretty cool, and well, apparently we're gonna learn more in the detailed patch notes. The jail. Okay, so the jail is a great idea to keep the meta fresh. It also throws a wrench in for like strategy guides. How do I plan a strategy guide knowing that at any given day there's going to be certain units unavailable? So I got to do some thinking, but don't worry, I'll be doing some thinking. I'm going to be doing weekly content for you guys in Dota Underlords. Have no worry, but the jail is such a great idea. It makes the game so much better because it keeps the meta fresh. You're not going to have a situation where you have like a solved meta where everyone knows what the best strategy is. It's going to be day by day. And you know what? That's great because it keeps everything incredibly fresh. And you know what? They're going to be tuning it for sure. It also has an interesting play because there'll be certain alliances which, are going to be, more stable than others because, they have less heroes and you have to be able to complete the alliances. So we'll have to see how it plays out. Really interesting. Okay, hold on. A new UI. I didn't know they were doing a new UI. Oh, I honestly, I can't wait to check this out. Beautiful, I love it. Okay, great. So there's going to be a new UI in there. And so ranks are going to be changed. Let's jump over to the full patch notes here. Again, I've not seen them yet. The big change log. Here we go. So we got the new modes we just talked about. Let's get to the general gameplay here. So jail, we know that every 24 hours, XP is being changed. 5 instead of 4. Okay, so that makes perfect sense. It appears, my math off the top of my head is not perfect, but it appears that it's more or less the same. The difference is that at 5 gold for 5 XP, that just makes sense. I think that a lot of new players would be confused by the idea that you pay 5 gold for an increment of 4. I think that this change makes sense. It's also easier to do the math in your head, counting by 5s. Come on, it's the first thing we learn in school, counting by 5s. I think this is just a smart change. It's a smart, usable change. Okay, next, item drops. So I imagine they're going to make the rare items more common. So wave 30, we have tier 3 and 4 at 50-50. Yeah, so 20-80. So the tier 4 and I guess tier 5 items, so 35. Yeah, so basically the tier 5 items are going to be more easier to obtain, I should say. Okay? More prevalent, easier to obtain. That makes sense because you know what? I don't know about you guys. I rarely saw the legendary items because usually, like Trolls, Year Beast, I've never even seen Roshan. Never had a game go that far. So I'm sure a lot of you are like that. So I saw the Year Beast, but never Roshan. So you know, we had to get more access to those items. Again, UI overhaul, hero voice lines. Okay, so there's a ton more voice lines. Sounds good. No pun intended. Dota Underlords starting with big update. Okay, so we knew this from before, but the Underlords themselves are going to be using a currency called Hype, and it's going to be passively generated. So when they kill units, so they're on the board. Underlord units are actually a unit on the board, so that's really interesting. Very unique, very unique. Trash talk. Okay, cool. So the Underlord's going to be able to trash talk. Perfect. You know, for those that want to get a little BM. And new heroes, we have the Nyx Assassin. So we've been learning about the Nyx Assassin. Really interested to see how the Nyx Assassin does in the actual game. Shadow Demon the same. So we have Heartless Demon, a very interesting setup here. Again, I don't want to speculate on their stats and on their abilities. We've all been reading the updates on Twitter. At the end of the day, I want to see them in the field. I want to see them in the game. I want to test them in the that new mode, right? So we have so Dazzle is going to be a troll healer. I really like, by the way, for the record, I really like the idea of the healing alliance. That's been sorely missing. Druid almost took the role of a healing alliance, but I'm really glad to see Dazzle in here and the healing alliance, which is absolutely fantastic. Magnus, we got the Brute alliance being represented as well, and it looks like Magnus is going to be doing damage with his cleave. Sounds good. And Weaver, again, another insect, and I believe Nyx Assassin is an insect as well. It is. So, very neat. Like that. Io, Primordial Druid. Okay, so we haven't had one of those. And the Legion Commander. So I'm going to go through this one because the Legion Commander is a little different. They're a champion. That means that they basically have the effects of all alliances, which is pretty neat. Currently, Legion Commander is the only champion in the game. So I wonder if it's going to be a very contested unit. I don't see a current real disadvantage to running Legion Commander. So we'll have to test, right? We'll have to test. And also, the permanent increase in damage is a pretty interesting mechanic. Lifestealer, also new. And, you know, for anyone that's played Dota in the past, yeah, I'm thinking I might actually try some Dota 2 again. It's been a long time since I played. We have Bristleback, the Broodmother, so that's another insect Warlock. And the Faceless Void, who is the ace of assassins, which makes sense. The Faceless Void is arguably the one of the most prolific carries in Dota 2, if my memory serves me correct. So it's nice to see that the Faceless Void is getting recognition as the ace of assassins. And again, I'm going to be testing all these units out in the field, guys. So, and again, we got we got Sven, who is the ace of knights. Sounds great. Okay, so hero changes. A lot of stuff has changed here, and all this is new to my eyes. So let's read it. The Anti-Mage is no longer an elusive demon hunter, but rather an elusive assassin. Okay, I can see that. And mana break, so he has no mana, which makes sense. He's never really needed mana. Oh, but the Anti-Mage now does extra damage and burn type from Underlords. Okay, very interesting. Axe is no longer a Brawny Warrior, but Brawny Brute. We knew that from the Brawny, not the Brawny, sorry, the Brute announcement a few days ago. Batrider, Sticky Napalm, has a reduction. Okay, makes sense. Kind of reduces Batrider's effectiveness, but that's not too bad. Bloodseeker. Didn't expect to change from Bloodseeker. Human Deadeye Assassin to Bloodbound Deadeye. Okay, interesting. So Losing the Bloodseeker really benefited from the Assassin bonus because he was attacking so fast, so the chance to proc the Assassin bonus was so high, and as you're proccing the Assassin bonus, you're doing more damage, which allows you to, you know, get the kill, which allows you to heal back up. So this is a pretty significant change. Bloodbound Deadeye. I was not expecting that. Bloodbound on the Bloodseeker. Okay. Very interesting. Gonna have to test that out. That feels like a nerf, but we'll have to see, because Bloodbound has had its moments, right, of being absolute chaos. So we'll have to see. Crystal Maiden goes from tier 3 to tier 2, back to tier 2, but we've removed the Arcane Aura. So we don't have the passive regeneration anymore. And we have Frostbite, which, okay, so that's right from Dota 2. Makes sense. Encases an enemy in ice and prevents movement and attack. Okay, that's good. That's very good. So it's going to be a random unit. And so targeting it's going to be tricky, but still, it's basically a completely demobilizing attack for 4. It's like an incredible stun while doing damage. Perfect. Doom, Demon Hunter to Demon Brute, and the cooldown has been changed, so Doom has seen its nerf. No! That breaks my heart. So I've always been such a Doom. I've been a Doom truther for months. Anybody that's been watching my strategy guides would know that I've been telling you to take Doom. So many people have been passing on Doom, and it's because his cooldown was so relatively short that he was able to cast it so many times throughout a match. 2 or 3 times. That's 2 or 3 units, especially in the later match. You know, if you only have 2 or 3 guys up, he's silencing someone. That's a pretty big deal. So, so these are the primordial spawns, and they are now getting buffed. Okay, so they have increased armor, increased damage. Alright, so they're simply better. Okay, so they're back to their bruising ways of before. The Enchantress. Savage Druid to Savage Druid Healer. So the Enchantress has gained the healer tag, which is great. Always obviously been a healer, and the Enchantress needed help. I'm surprised they haven't buffed her more. Well, unless healer, well, obviously healer is a buff. It's probably going to provide us with some sort of benefit. Enigma. No longer the Ace of Shamans and is the Ace of Primordial. That makes perfect sense. And the new effect that you get Malefice on the killer, which stuns them for every, half a second for 2 seconds. And it lasts for 2 seconds per alliance. Okay, so that's like a constant stun. And they take, and they take 50 damage. Wow, so that's actually pretty interesting. This seems really strong. So constant stunning, constant damage. And again, if you have it, you get to, if you have the Primordial Alliance completed, you're more likely to pull the Enigma. Good. I'm actually surprised they didn't change this to a higher percentage. Because I don't know about you guys, I still found the Ace pulls to be very, very tricky and problematic. And Midnight Pulse has been reduced in damage. That's a shame. So really, he's not much of a DPS anymore. It's more about his Ace effect. The Gyrocopter. So attacking Deadeye units pierce their main target and dealing 100% additional damage to the unit behind them. Okay. So a piercing effect instead of the True Strike makes perfect sense because True Strike was only effective against elusive builds, and well, elusive builds weren't all that common. So, and if you're against anybody else, you suddenly found yourself with a very useless trait. So the pierce effect makes this Deadeye composition much more viable. A great change like that. That's a huge buff to Deadeyes for sure. True Strike was not enough. Keeper of the Light. Reduction in mana and a reduction in cost to illuminate. That has to be a result of the Crystal Maiden being her passive mana regeneration being removed, because Keeper of the Light was only effective because of Crystal Maiden's effectiveness. That makes sense. This is a change that makes sense. So Lina, an attack rate change. So Lina's back up to rare, and Laguna Blade has an increased amount of damage, but it now sets fire to the unit being hit for 5 seconds. So now we have an initial burst of damage with Lina and a trail off of damage as well. Okay, they haven't given us any detailed stats about what the set on fire means. So interesting, we'll have to test it, but it's sad to see Lina go to a rare unit again, swapping back with the Crystal Maiden. So I guess that goes to show you that just how strong that passive regeneration for Crystal Maiden was. Medusa, no longer the Ace of Scale, but rather the Ace of Hunters. And the Ace of Hunters now deals 5 additional attack damage per alliance level on anyone attacking the same target. Makes sense. That actually makes a lot of sense that's a huge buff to, say, Sniper. because Sniper's now going to be having Deadeye. Sniper also has, obviously, Hunter. So if you're in a position where you have the Ace of Hunters, you're hitting the lowest health unit for extra damage if other people are attacking it as well. Okay? And again, that helps the Sniper move from target to target. Nature's Prophet. So these are just straight up alliance changes, okay? So from Elusive Druid to Druid Shaman. Actually makes sense. That actually makes sense. It helps Shaman a bit because the changes to Nature's Prophet with his new ability make him significantly stronger. The treants were really lacking, so Nature's Prophet single-handedly makes Shaman a little more viable here. So we'll have to see. Necrophos, it makes sense to go from Heartless Warlock to Heartless Healer. Even though the Warlock part of him was a pretty good play, I'm surprised they didn't just add Healer as they did with Enchantress. I think the reason why they didn't was because the Enchantress was so much weaker than the Necrophos, obviously. Well, there's a big tier difference as well, but Necrophos was being used in so many builds because he was so effective, whereas Enchantress was literally holding back every single build. Druids, better without Enchantress. Sorry, why am I forgetting? Oh, Savage, better without Enchantress. So Enchantress needed that extra tag there just to be more relevant. Omni Knight. So Omni Knight gets the extra healer tag as well. Great, I can't wait to see what actually the healer tag does now. Sand King, Savage Insect, makes sense. Sand King was never much of an assassin anyway, so this makes sense. Shadow Shaman. So mana reduction. So they're going to get to maximum mana faster. Okay, so he's going to be able to cast Hex faster with a shorter cooldown. That's a legitimate buff to Shadow Shaman because, like the Enchantress, Shadow Shaman made it very difficult to make Trolls viable. So now this buff to Shadow Shaman makes Trolls a better fit. Perfect. Slark. Oh no! No, Slark, you've been nerfed! Oh, okay, so I knew this was coming because Slark was just unbelievable, especially with the Mask of Madness. Okay, so this makes sense. It probably had to happen. But it hurts because watching Slark just melt guys was such a great feeling. But yeah, Slark, I'm sorry you had to get nerfed. It had to happen. It had to happen. Terrorblade, no longer a demon. Just a straight up demon hunter. Okay. Okay, that's an interesting change. That removes some of Terrorblade's damage potential because of that 50% bonus to demons. We'll have to see if that gets made up somehow. But now suddenly Terrorblade, that's a nerf. Definitely a nerf. Okay. Tiny. Toss. Alright, so Toss has been changed. So an increased cooldown and a reduced stun. Alright, that makes sense. Tiny was one of those units where quite literally you could play him all game long. He was a tier 1 unit that could roll with the tier 4s because quite frankly Toss was so effective it had to get nerfed. Makes sense. The Treant Protector is now a Druid and Brute. Again, makes sense. The elusive effect was really good though. He was a great elusive unit, especially since he was tanking in the front and healing at the same time. That combination made him very strong. We'll have to see how he handles being a Brute. And Warlock. I was just going to say, tell me they took the Warlock tag off the Warlock. That's impossible. Well, I guess they took the Hunter tag off Tide Hunter, so I guess they're willing to do anything. So, we have Bloodbound Warlock to Bloodbound Warlock and Healer. So again, just a straight up buff. That's a straight up buff. New alliances, we got the Brutes. When they attack an enemy unit, it applies a damage debuff. So, those units do less damage, and it also applies damage itself. And they prefer to attack damage units without the debuff. So that means that Brutes are going to try and spread that debuff around. Very interesting AI. Very interesting from a strategic standpoint as well. Positioning wise, you can maximize the positioning of Brutes in order to make it so that they're spreading that debuff more efficiently. Pretty interesting. I like that. So champions receive all the alliance bonuses. Healers. So they just simply get a healing buff of 30%. Okay, interesting. So that's just a flat out buff. 30% additional healing. Okay, we'll take it. Insects, so they spawn from the edges of the board. I explained that earlier. We kind of knew this. They're untargetable units that deal low damage, and they have 1 health. If enemies are bitten, they have a 30% chance to miss attacks for 0.5 seconds, and spiderlings are replenished upon death to a maximum of 12. Okay, again, one of those things that just reading the numbers, you have to see that in play here. So we got, okay, so this is where things get interesting. So the existing alliances are being changed. Brawny. So now it's half. So the bonus to Brawny is now 15 and 30. Oh, but it's for any brawny units killed throughout the game. So so if you have like a Beastmaster that's been racking up kills all game, that benefit is applied to all brawny units as they're added. Okay, that makes brawny a lot more viable. It removes the classic raid boss effect of having like a Beastmaster with like 10k health, but it makes brawny overall much more viable. Deadeye. Okay, so phasing movement. This means basically that any unit with Deadeye who is a melee unit, that's going to allow them to not just run around the board like crazy, like we saw some of our Deadeye units do in the past. Bloodseeker bouncing around like crazy, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Demon. Whenever a demon casts a spell, all demons for 4 seconds are silenced. And the caster gains 50% pure damage for each allied demon. Okay. I have to test that. That's really interesting. The crazy thing about that is when the demon casts a spell. So you would have to position them in a way where you can ensure that whatever demon you want to get the 50% pure damage is achieving the spell cast first. Because if you silence all the other demons, they'll still be getting mana. Okay, so the actual RNG of who's casting when becomes very important here. Because if you silence everyone for 4 seconds, and then say the unit just dies, you've basically muted your entire team for 4 seconds for no bonus damage. But in the case you're able to say, well, be alive, you can effectively have like 250, 300% bonus damage. This is a huge swing. This is a crazy RNG effect here, so we'll have to definitely test that. I am really interested in demons now. That's a really cool effect. Demon Hunter. Removed from the game. So the Demon Hunter effect is just simply removed from the game. Wait a minute, but what's... Hold on a second. What's Terrorblade? Alliance changed from Demon to Demon Hunter to Demon Hunter. Wait, how's Demon Hunter removed from the game if Terrorblade's a Demon Hunter? Am I missing something? I must be missing something. How Demon Hunter removed from the game, but Terrorblade is a Demon Hunter? Maybe okay, I don't know. Demon Hunter's taking up other jobs in White Spire, so we're gonna find that out, I guess, when I play. But elusive. All elusive units now have 10 to 20% to gain 100% evasion and 30 additional attack speed for 3 seconds. That's a huge buff. They don't just miss the attack, so now once they trigger, they proc 100% evasion and extra attack speed. Okay, that's cool. That's really cool. Huge buff to someone like Phantom Assassin. That's incredible. That's incredible. Humans. Oh, here it is. Okay, so this is why I don't read the patch notes in advance, because this is great. Okay, so instead of doing silencing, which I actually kind of enjoyed, but it kind of sucked when you're on the receiving end of a really RNG focused silence. But now all allies generate extra mana for human alliance levels. That makes up for the Crystal Maiden effect, her passive regeneration. That's interesting. So now is Crystal Maiden more effective than ever? That's interesting because so the mana regeneration is pretty significant still. But that might be a buff naturally to someone like Keeper, because now Keeper the Light has a reduced mana cost for his ability, Illuminate, and allies are able to generate mana themselves. Okay, very interesting. Again, a big change, a very significant change. Primordials. So they're now allowed to spawn this stronger spawns there. Makes perfect sense. Savages. And these got buffed huge, right? Now they have armor, stuff like that. So the damage has been nerfed significantly. Interesting. Gonna have to test that. I never thought Savage was all too strong in the first place, but I guess with the new builds and all the new synergies, they know something we don't yet. Shamans. Shamans. Units attacking a shaman have a 17% being turned into chicken. We know that. They hop in random directions. We know that too. But, okay, so each shaman can only turn each enemy into a chicken once per battle. This was already kind of in effect. This was something that was undocumented. So if you're attacking a shaman, you get turned into a chicken, and you come back up and keep attacking that shaman, even in the old version of the game before the big update, you would not be changed into a chicken again. We have some new items. Assassin's Veil, Tier 3. Alright, so this is it right here. This is what I was expecting from, say, someone for the Anti-Mage. The equipped hero is always able to attack the enemy Underlord, and it removes 10 hype from the Underlord on a 3-second cooldown. This is Anti-Mage right here. Assassin's Veil on the Anti-Mage, and it's going to do additional, I imagine it stacks, so Very interesting. So this basically puts an aggro situation on the Underlord. It's almost like in football, someone's already trying to get to the quarterback, right? I guess the Underlord's the quarterback of the Dota Underlords world. We got a Murder Gong. Tier 2. Every time the equipped hero gets a kill, they generate 20 hype for the Underlord. Oh, okay. So that's probably why Slark had to get nerfed. A great item for someone like a PA, that's for sure. Okay, big time contract. Huge health buff to big time contract. That's pretty neat. Interesting how it'll affect Bloodseeker though, because now Bloodseeker will have more health. Well, no, you wouldn't put big time contract on a Bloodseeker. Never mind, that's wrong. But still, it's a huge buff. Huge buff, 500 health here. I have Scatty, again, more health for Scatty. Fall from Grace is gone. Oh, the Knights. The Knights have had their Fall from Grace removed, but they got an Ace of Knights now in Sven, so we'll see how that works. Healing Ward had to get buffed. I said it way long ago in one of my strategy guides that it wasn't good enough. This is at least better. It's double the effectiveness. We'll have to test it. Heart of Tarrasque. We barely ever saw the Heart of Tarrasque, but when we did, it was good then. Now it's even better now. Mechanism. Okay, this had to happen. Mechanism wasn't healing for enough. But Mechanism's issue is also the RNG of, is that unit hitting the health threshold before others? You know, if the unit's in front and they're the only ones taking damage, they're healing other people for no reason. Mechanism had other issues here, so we'll see if that actually helps. Tombstone. Tombstone already got nerfed and now its armor's down. I don't know if Tombstone's going to be viable. We're probably going to see changes to Tombstone. We already had the radius reduced, now the armor reduction. That hurts. That hurts, especially when at those levels, now you're going to be seeing more potential for, you know, tier 5 items as well. So I think Tombstone might be done. Tombstone is in the ground. Vanguard, health bonus buffed up. That's great. I already thought Vanguard was a good item. And the Vitality Booster getting a bonus. That's actually cool because unlike Chainmail, having the Vitality Booster on like a mage can help because they're still generating mana faster because they're still taking... Alright, let me explain this better. So, I was kind of rushing. So basically, the thing with the Vitality Booster being increased from 250 to 500 is that if you have a mage or a unit that you want, like, okay, Disruptor. Put Disruptor in the front line because you want him to cast his silence. If you use something like Chainmail because you want the Disruptor to survive long enough to cast, they're taking reduced actual damage, but that also reduces the amount of mana they generate per unit of damage received. The Vitality Booster gives them straight up health. Armor is like effective health, except it maintains the amount of damage you're taking. So the result of that is a unit with the 500 bonus health, unlike the Chainmail, is going to be taking more damage, but they just have more health. That allows them to cast things faster. It allows them to generate more mana faster. So this is actually a big change for Vitality Booster. This might be a legitimate item we're going to have to look at. Before, Vitality Booster was a throwaway. Now at 500, it's basically double the effectiveness. That's interesting. Very interesting, especially for situations where you want to have like Disruptor on the front line or Tidehunter, or you want to ensure that unit's casting, right? Anyways, guys, that's my look at the changes. You guys are going to be seeing videos coming from me. This is fantastic. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to dive into Dota Underlords. So thank you guys so much for watching. And a special thank you to all my subscribers. We've been waiting for this day and now it's here. Let's have some fun. Take care and have yourself a wonderful day.